What is going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. It is about that time again to get into March draft class updates this time. In case you're new here, there are instructions on the screen for how to download the draft class. You must be on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series consoles to be able to download it. And for those of you who've been tapped in, welcome back. Let's get into updates. I've added 5 new players this month. Dalen Swain from Texas, Amari Allen from Alabama, Ibuka Okori from Stanford, Emmanuel Sharp from Houston, and Richie Saunders from BYU. Couple of notes on these guys. So Richie Saunders unfortunately tore his ACL. He's going to be out for probably like 9-ish months. So that's reflected here in his injury status. Dalen Swain, for some reason, I can't change some of his signatures away from basic. So I still have some work to do to revise some of his sigs, but it's just I'm locked by 2K and can't really change them right now. And then one last note on new players. I did create Alan Graves, but I still need to decide how I want to do his attributes because he is at Santa Clara, which is a mid-major, which isn't the same level of competition as the high major players. As far as other players who I'm looking to add next, to be honest with you, the main person is going to be Mo Krivas, and then I'll put a list of people on the screen of who I'm thinking about adding next, but I'm going to be honest with you, they're not going to be a huge priority given that adding 2 players would put me at 60, which is kind of the target number that I was looking at. So I will still be creating new players because obviously not every single one of these players in my draft class is going to declare for the draft. So I just need to prepare for players who enter this draft conversation later. As usual, we're going to transition into talking about the big 3 of this draft class. So I'm going to start as usual with Darren Peterson. And last month, I mentioned that his passing was not to the level that I think we anticipated coming into the year. That's continued to kind of decline. His assist numbers haven't been great, so you'll see some decreases in his passing ratings. His three-pointer also went down by 1, but he is still like the second best shooter in this draft class. So that is one thing he's been elite at this year is catch and shoot jumpers in particular, but I mean overall his three-point shooting has been fantastic. I actually watched the Arizona Kansas game on Saturday and Darren had a pretty good game. He was kind of the only person bringing anything to the table offensively for Kansas. They probably would have gotten blown out by 40 points if he wasn't on the floor. Especially in the second half, I thought he had a pretty good performance and helped kind of bring them within 2. But Arizona still kind of went on a huge run, especially once Darren Peterson hit the bench. So overall, he's been a positive player still, and I think he's been playing more minutes over the last 2 or 3 games in particular. I know there's been a lot of Darren Peterson in the news. He's even made like the national news cycle just about his availability and him being not being the number 1 prospect, but to me, I think he's the most talented player in this class, and I still have him as the number 1 player in the draft class. But I will say that he, Cam Boozer, and AJ are tied still at 81 overall. However, I think this race for the number 1 overall pick is hotly contested because of the play of AJ Debonsa. He has continued to roll over the last month. It seems like he finds new ways to get better over the course of this season. So I think one of the games that stood out in particular was his game against Iowa State. He just seemed to be picking apart their defense, both as a scorer and as a playmaker. You'll see in these attribute changes that his passing has increased a little bit, but I think the very important thing is his three-point shot. The three-point volume has been going up for him, and the percentage has been pretty stable. So those are things that I've kind of been looking for him to improve on, and he's made it happen. So kudos to him. I think he's tracking probably as good as you could have expected for AJ Debonsa, and I think he is more than worthy of being the number 1 pick if that is your opinion and your choice. And then last but not least, you have Mr. Consistent Cameron Boozer. He's been pretty much solidified as the best player in college basketball this year. You see no attribute changes really month over month except for some minor things. So again, a guy who definitely is deserving of number 1 pick status as well, depending on what your team needs are and how you kind of evaluate. The biggest riser I want to talk about this month is another freshman, Braden Burries, who I've not talked about at all this year. He got off to a really slow start at Arizona. In particular, he wasn't doing well against highly ranked opponents at the beginning of the year, but he was playing well against the lower ranked opponents. But he's kind of turned his story around. He's now the leading scorer for Arizona, who's like the number 2 team in the country right now. He's been really good and aggressive attacking the rim. In particular, you can see his draw foul has gone up by 7 from last month. And also, he's been a really sneaky good rebounder. I think he had 10 rebounds in that game against Kansas that I was watching. So as a 6'4 guard, that's pretty impressive when you have guys like Mo Krivas, Koa Pete, and Flory Badunga sharing the floor with you. So overall, I think Braden Burries has found himself in lottery talks. I have him ranked number 14 in this draft class for me right now. I think one thing you have to look out for with Braden Burries, he is a freshman, but at the start of his first NBA season, he will be 21 years old. So that actually makes him older than LeBaron Philon. So that's one consideration you should take into account when deciding about Braden Burries. Another freshman I don't want to do a full deep dive on, but I thought I should mention is Nate Aean. He's been much better in the last 10 or so games for Tennessee. He got off to a really slow start, wasn't very efficient, but he's been averaging 20 points a game for Tennessee. He did sustain that nasty leg injury. I was watching that Tennessee-Alabama game where that happened. But hopefully he's back and he's healthy because he's been playing his best basketball as of late. I didn't change much month over month for his attributes just because, to be honest with you, the story has been much of the same. But I've lowered his bust potential and increased his boom potential. So now I have him as the number 11 prospect in this draft class when previously I had him outside of the lottery. I've mentioned a few times prospect rankings for this draft class. I will have a separate video going through the draft philosophy for this draft class and how I have the players kind of ranked within my draft class. So keep an eye out for that. Let's jump into some badge changes. So similar to the attribute changes, there are going to be less and less as the season is wearing on because we've seen these players play. I have a good grasp of who these players are and what their strengths and weaknesses are. But the first one I wanted to mention was Caleb Wilson. I gave him rebound chaser. I think it's well deserved. He's been one of the best rebounders in the draft class, particularly on the defensive end. Yaxel Lendeborg, I gave him off-ball pest. Kingston Flemings, I removed his interceptor badge. His steal rate has been down a little bit. Cameron Carr, I realized I made a mistake with his badges. The abbreviation HFD actually stands for handles for days, not high flying denier. I meant to give him high flying denier and not handles for days, so I made the switch. Pat Gongba, I gave him box out beast. He's been one of the better offensive rebounders in the draft class, and he also is kind of a unit who can kind of clear space in the paint, so it's a perfect badge for him. Hannes Steinbach, I dropped his box out beast from silver to bronze, and Michael Brown Jr., I removed his unpluckable badge because his turnover rate has been a little higher than I would like for someone with the unpluckable badge. The last thing I wanted to mention is that I made some face changes to players in the draft class, so I'll show you screenshots of what the players look like now as I mention them by name. So you have Adai Mara, whose face I changed, Braden Burries, I made some slight tweaks, AJ Debonsa, Caleb Wilson, Yaxel Lendeborg, Braden Smith, Milos Uzan, and I think that's it. So that's all I had for this month's draft class update. As I mentioned earlier, keep an eye out for that draft guide video that I'll be putting out. I'll also be putting out a hot zones video. I finally finished putting together hot zones from data through February. It took me literally 2 weeks to put put together and prep for that video. So that's why I'm not going to include all the data up through March. But keep an eye out on that as well. If you're enjoying the content, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one. Hope you have a great day, and peace.